What's going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. In this video today, we're going to be talking about a couple of super interesting things. We're going to be talking about the possibility of Bitcoin going through a super cycle, and we're going to talk about what I believe to be the greatest potential threats to Bitcoin achieving its targets that I've set forth for this cycle. Before we get into all the good stuff, let's take a look at the chart over here. Let's focus what's going on within price, just so everyone stays updated and in that flow. The last that we looked at this, I pointed out this bull flag that we were trading within, and we have since broken out above, right? Not only broken out above, clearing that 27,500 resistance, and have already come in for a retest of that resistance, looking here to see if we're able to resume up to new all-time highs, which we're trading just below right now. Bitcoin continues to look super bullish. That's actually one of the threats I'm going to talk about as we get into it. Where do I want to start this off? Let's start over here. Jordan, been following you since April. Congrats on everything. Thank you. Right? You've helped me a ton. I'm interested to know what you consider to be the real threats to Bitcoin reaching your target price, right? To expand a bit, there are endless speculative theories at what could crash Bitcoin, increased regulations, etc. I'm interested in the ones that you're actually concerned about as well. Popular ones you aren't, and why, maybe addressing them, right? We're going to be taking a look at that, and then I want to talk about my thoughts on whether or not we are in or actually entering a super cycle, this current cycle, what that would mean, and we'll be talking about all of that, or I'll at least be adding what I can to the conversation. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to clarify with this comment as well. Look, Brian had added in yesterday's upload on the video, listen, the fact that Jordan, that you have no desire to be right, but only wanted to be correct, it's that nuance, in a nutshell, the reason why you and the CTM community are the best. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. And listen, the reason I'm highlighting that comment right now as we get started over here, because as we go over all of this, these are my current thoughts at right now as we are just about to enter into 2021, right? This is an ongoing, evolving situation. The markets are constantly pricing in all sorts of information on a daily basis. You have to be adaptable and flexible. I just want to share my point of view, my perspective. When we talk about what are the greatest thoughts about Bitcoin increasing my price projections, and just so everyone knows that I went ahead and I did the math, and I showed you that during this current cycle that I expected price to reach $160,000. And I set the target goal of $140,000. And I believe that everyone should be positioned so that if Bitcoin reaches $140,000, they've met all their objectives. Now, I want to clarify. I want to be very, very clear. That does not mean that's where we're going to exit Bitcoin. My goal, my personal goal, and anyone who's with me, anyone who's following me, anyone who is using my work here as something that they could then use to form their own opinion, I'm going to do my best to get out of this trade as close as I can to 25% off the top tick. If I could do that in my book, I'm a hero, right? That's my goal. That's my objective, and I think I'm going to be able to do it, right? So I'm not going to be looking to exit at 140,000. I'm not looking to exit at 160,000. I'm going to let price and price action and a whole bunch of other factors that I've shared with all of you, right? Including the pi cycle indicator, to get out as close as possible to that top. Now, what are some things that I believe could prevent price from reaching $140,000? Is it any type of government regulation? Not for me. I don't think anything in the next 9 to 11 months, 12 months possibly. I don't think we're going to see any type of government regulation that is going to pop Bitcoin, right? And by the way, Bitcoin is not even close to being in a bubble right now. Bitcoin is cheap right now, in my opinion. Now, it's true, very shortly, within some time in the next 9 to 12 months, Bitcoin will be in a bubble. And at that point, I will be looking to exit Bitcoin, unless something extraordinary happens. Speaking of extraordinary, we've already seen something extraordinary happening this year, right? This is the dollar liquidity crisis that we saw back in March, right? This, in my opinion, was an anomaly, something that doesn't happen very often, right? It happened, not only the Federal Reserve's response, which was they overreacted. They expanded their balance sheet by $4.1 trillion. In 2021, that will continue a total of about $1.4 trillion in additional expansion of their balance sheet. I think that they overreacted on purpose, right? And I don't think that we're looking at any type, and I've been saying this all year ever since the Fed acted, that I don't think that we're seeing any signs of any type of dollar liquidity crisis. Actually, it's the adverse. And nor do I think anytime soon we will be seeing any type of event like that. That's something that could definitely weigh on and affect the dollar, right? But we just experienced that. People are often looking for these market crashes and black swan events. The one that happened prior to this year was all the way back in 2008. That was 12 years earlier, right? So I was saying back in March, you know what? The next one might not be for 6 years. Right? And that's a rough guesstimate. I have no idea when the next crisis will occur. There will be another crisis. Unlike Janet Yellen, who told us there will never be another crisis in our lifetimes. Of course, that's hogwash. I didn't believe it when she said it, and obviously I don't believe that there's not going to be another crisis going forward. I do believe that when the Federal Reserve is actually ready to launch the digital dollar, which 3 or 4 years away from now, 2023, 2024. At that point, there will be some type of orchestrated crisis in order to probably make that transition over. Something like that could occur. I don't foresee one in the way right now. We just had one right now. And notice how Bitcoin reacted. Bitcoin, right, like everything else, had that correlation down to 1. And really, by the way, a large part of this drop over here during that crisis had to do with that BitMEX liquidation loop. It wasn't until BitMEX went down under maintenance and offline that price then hit the low and recovered instantly, right? Is BitMEX the factor that it was just even going back 9 months ago? No, it's not, right? Since they're now doing MAL and KYC, they've seen their volumes decrease a lot. We've actually seen drawdowns on Bitcoin decrease a lot. What do I think? We know that the Treasury is in the process of implementing some new rules as far as self-hosted wallets. Obviously, Bitcoin accepted that news. And then Bitcoin, that's when it broke 19,000 and started moving way up once that was out of the way. I don't foresee any regulation whatsoever in the coming year that could possibly get in Bitcoin's way. What I consider the greatest threat to people meeting their objectives during this coming bull market phase that we're currently in, and it's about to really start heating up. I always said the first quarter of 2021 is really when it was going to get noticeable. By the way, I also did say over here, and I said this going back into early December, I said, watch what happens at this point in the cycle. We're going to start seeing gaps between monthly prints. And I pointed to you out these gaps over here, right? And then sure enough, look at this month's price action. We're going to see a huge gap as Plan B goes ahead and puts out the next red dot, which will be just in a couple of days over here as we get into the 1st of January. And that's what we're starting to see right now. Everything is right on time. Now, look over here on a monthly chart. I just want to point that out to you so you can see what that actually looks like. Here are monthly price bars. You notice this is the last red dot over here. Do you see that big gap now you're starting to see between red dots at this part of the cycle? What do I believe is the greatest threat to people being able to achieve their targets, my target, during this Bitcoin bull market phase? I think it's people trying to get cute, to trying to trade in and out of Bitcoin, and therefore getting left behind. I said that we were going to see violent moves to the upside, and a lot of people that sold Bitcoin, i.e. at 19,000, 18,000, will be buying back much higher as price got away from them. You now obviously could see this happening in real time, and I hope you understand how this is a threat for you. I said over here at 19,000, I said once price had recovered, right? Once price had recovered from this pullback, this 16.5% pullback over here, immediately I said, you better be fully positioned Bitcoin. The risk is to the upside. Look what's happened since. And that remains the risk. Of course, always be prepared for those drawdowns. The drawdowns that we're seeing are obviously much shallower than expected. Is that a threat to Bitcoin? Right? It's not a threat. That's a threat to those who are trying to trade in and out of Bitcoin. Those that are waiting for the pullback to enter, right? There are people that have been waiting for the pullback since $13,000, $14,000. There are people waiting for the pullback since $18,000 and $19,000. And right now there are people waiting for that pullback. That pullback might never come. So this is why when I talked about 3 ways to trade the Bitcoin bull market phase, I said probably the strategies that's the best for the majority of people is strategy number 1. Right? That is making sure that you're fully invested for the duration of the bull market. Yes, if you do get those pullbacks, you should increase your position if you're able to. You should be looking to increase your position, right? But I think the greatest risk here is that people underestimate Bitcoin, are not fully positioned, and I think that people also exit Bitcoin prematurely. I think those are the greatest risks. I don't see any outside risk that is going to stop Bitcoin from reaching the target, the goal, mission accomplished target of $140,000 at all. I don't see it. Could it happen? Of course, right? Could there be some type of black swan event that occurs tomorrow? Yes. I'm not even going to try to guess what that could be, because generally when those type of events happen, no one saw them coming, or very few people see them coming. I don't see anything that's going to, prevent Bitcoin from meeting its objective this bull market cycle. I think the only thing that could get in the way from you meeting your objectives is you yourself. I feel very firm about that. What about this super cycle that people are talking about over here? I highlighted on Bitcoin, actually, Dan Held had a great thread over here regarding Bitcoin going through a possible super cycle. Before I get into that, just want to show you a couple of things, because I'm a chart guy. By the way, just to clarify, I personally have never taken the time to understand Plan B stock to flow model. Right? Well, first of all, we all know it's a model, and models work until they don't. I don't use Plan B's stock to flow model. It doesn't affect my own analysis whatsoever. I've done the work and I've showed you the math of how I worked out my numbers in the video on the Bitcoin playlist. Now, I do love Plan B's chart here, and I love how it's color coded to how many more months. See here at the bottom, it shows how many more months to the next halving. And then over here, it's showing over here those color-coded monthly bars over here. And I absolutely love that. I think that's a great asset. All right. Now, I'm not saying Plan B's work or model is incorrect or any. I think it's correct so far. I think it's fantastic. It's just that the model itself is not what I look at. It's the chart. And it's the color-coded how many more months and why. Just to give you an example over here, you see this dark green where it's 15 months to the next halving? That's where we reaccumulate during this upcoming bear market phase that I personally believe is going to occur, right? We'll talk about the supercycle in a second. That's 15 months to the next cycle. You see it 15 months to the next cycle. For sure, I'm going to use that as a guide when I start making sure that I'm fully accumulating and back into Bitcoin over here for the next cycle. There are other things. One thing that I figured out recently, a couple of weeks ago, I put out a tweet about that, which is I'll be able to tell us in this upcoming bull market what I believe that next cycle low will be. Will that help us figure out possibly where the top might be? Yes, it all will. That's not for this video over here. That will be presented to you and updated on the playlist shortly. But I just want everyone to understand that I don't follow Plan B stock to flow model. I follow this chart over here, the color-coded how many more months to the next halving. I believe it is a fantastic asset. Now, there are other people out there who are talking about such things as shortening cycles and diminishing returns. I think it's dead wrong. A lot of those people tend to be, let's call them fanatical. I don't like that. I don't want any of that in my realm, right? Take that elsewhere. Don't come at me and say, Jordan, you need to pay attention to this. I'll pay attention to whatever I want to, right? Listen, if you're a little crazy in the head, get away from me. I don't want any of that energy around me whatsoever. It's simple math, by the way. This is over here, the first cycle in blue over here. In the red, we have the second cycle. This is looking since over here, the cycle bottom. When I say cycle bottom, that's over here, that 15 months to the next halving. Lining up those cycles over here, this is the current cycle in white, right? Are we seeing diminishing returns or any signs of diminishing returns? Well, no, not even closely. Well, what happens if we line up the halving dates? This is the halving dates over here, okay? Are we seeing diminishing returns over here? No, Jordan, we're dead center between the last two cycles. Yeah, so 2 plus 2 equals 4. It's simple math, right? It's not 2 plus 2 equals 5. And if you're seeing diminishing returns, you really have serious issues. And it's not for me to discuss or talk about, all right? Now, what else do we have over here? What about this, Jordan? Look over here. Over here, price traded below the last cycle. You could see clearly, Jordan, this is diminishing returns. Yeah, during a crisis that warranted the Fed to increase their balance sheet by $4.1 trillion. Yeah, that was an anomaly, and price since has recovered. All right? 2 plus 2 equals 4. If you can't do simple math, I'm sorry. What else? Over here on stock to flow over here, Plan B does say using stock to flows model, he believes it'll be in 2024, between 2021 and 2024, that Bitcoin was able to overtake gold's market cap. Okay, I think the math's a little off over here. I wish I could reach out to him and just let him know, because yeah, why it's not going to be in 2021, Bitcoin is not going to overtake gold's market cap this cycle. Right? You have to add 4 years to that, because the next cycle peak will be in 2025, not in 2024. So either which way, I don't think there's a chance that Bitcoin is going to overtake gold's market cap this current cycle in 2021. But I do think that in 2025, gold will be challenging and perhaps overtaking gold's market cap. And as far as getting into real estate and that happening, 5 years later, so put that in 2030, 2030, is that possible? Listen, that's too far away to even think about. And by the way, I have no idea what real estate's market cap is going to look like 9 years from now, 10 years from now. All I know is right now is that we are seeing all asset prices inflated. That includes the price of real estate. I have no idea. Listen, like I said, I don't follow the stock to flow model. I follow the 4-year cycle. And the 4-year cycle right now is showing us, right, that it's closely aligned to the first two cycles, whereas we have the bull market phase. We have the same moment of the cycle low over here 15 months out. And then we have the same patterns developing over here. And right now we're seeing this current cycle is actually it's somewhere between the first and the second cycle. We're not seeing any type of diminishing returns or any hint of any diminishing returns. Actually, we're seeing that this cycle has the potential to have greater returns than the last cycle so far. And I also believe that this cycle is going to be shorter than the last cycle. Now, I've talked about that in the past. I don't really want to get into that in this video. So what else? What does that lead to us? By the way, just wanted to come back over here 1 second and just show you over here that the next thing that we're targeting over here, if we're able to resume off over here, right? Because right now it looks like we've come in out of the bull flag. We've traded above my 27,500 line of resistance. Confirm that into support. We're now looking for the resumption up, price making a higher high over here above, let's call it 28,530. If price is able to go ahead and resume off over there, we're then looking, or I'm targeting, the next area of known resistance is somewhere around 30,500. Okay, that's just for everyone who's watching right now. Where are you wrong over here? Is it possible that price doesn't resume off over here, but comes down over here and consolidates above this line of broken resistance at 27,500, which should now be support? That would be super healthy price action. Even if we break below it, right? As long as we hold below that last swing low over there, which is now at 25,000, let's call it 600, all extremely positive price action that we're seeing here on Bitcoin going into the year end. Am I looking for any type of pullbacks right now? Just so everyone is aware, those that are following me now, listen, it's not until we hit around 40,000 that I'll be looking for a bigger pullback. The last big one that I was looking for and that we saw was not as big as I was looking for. It was only 16.5%. I was looking for that 30%. Once we come into around 40,000, at that point in time, I will be looking for that pullback. And when I say looking for it, I won't be looking to take any profit. Again, this cycle is a little bit different. We are seeing shallower pullbacks. I want to make sure that no matter what, I'm fully invested for the duration of the cycle. But I will be looking and just aware that if we have that pullback, I'm going to be waiting. And if it's 15%, I'll start adding in, right? If it goes down to 25, 30%, I will definitely pick up more. But from here on till there, I no longer am adding to any positions. I'm fully positioned, riding this, and just letting just letting this right here just rise in value, feeling very comfortable of what's going on. Over here, there's an article, if you look on the Nakamoto Institute.org on hyper Bitcoinization, if you want to understand what it is. It's a very short article, very easy to read. This was written in 2014. I think you should be aware of it. I'll include that in the description below. I'll also include Dan Held's link over here on whether or not we're going through a super cycle. Okay, this is going over here to Zachary's question over there. What are my thoughts about a super cycle and that Bitcoin breaks out to the upside, right? Really uncertain about what is reasonable with all the hype, right? So one of the biggest threats that I see to people being able to achieve their goals over here is also going to be, as it's time to take profit or exit this trade, there's going to be a lot of people who are thinking that, you know what, this time is different. This time, we've entered a super cycle. This time, the institutions are here. This time, we're not going to see a bear market phase, right? Bear market phase, in the past, price has come down. The last two cycles, price has come down 85 and 84%. There are going to be people up here come the fall, winter of 2021, we're going to say, no, this time is different. Bitcoin's going to $1 million. Bitcoin's going to $500,000. There's no way the institutions of here, there's a floor in Bitcoin. We're not going to have a bear market. Those people are not going to take profit. Those people are going to continue to hold Bitcoin, which, hey, by all rights. And that's not myself. I don't think that we're going to see a super cycle. I think that you should read Dan's thread. I read Dan's thread. I think it's fantastic. He said instead of a normal bull and bear cycle, Bitcoin would break convention and enter a super cycle. Does the possibility exist? Absolutely. At this point in time, I would say it's slightly increased that I put the odds of that happening at about 5%, right? Maybe that's growing a little towards 6 or 7%. What does that mean for me? When it's time for me to exit Bitcoin, take my profits, when I believe we hit the top of this cycle, I'll hold on to 5 or 7% or whatever I attribute that number to be at that time, just in case we do enter some type of super cycle. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future. He talks about the fact, that, listen, the idea that we're having reduction in supply and increased demand, right? The halving event, this diminished the miner's reward. More people are holding on to their Bitcoin. It's a reduction in that supply. And then we're seeing that increased demand from wealthy individuals, specifically in the United States, and also from institutions, which is only going to increase. And when I say institutions, I also have to include public companies. We also yesterday, the mayor of Miami would like to consider adding 1% of their treasury into Bitcoin. That's all signal. That's not noise. We're going to see more and more of that occurring. We saw yesterday, Russell, the Pro Bowler football player, said that in his new contract, he's getting half of his salary paid in Bitcoin. All of this stuff leads to increased demand, and that is not noise. That is signal. Could all of this add to Bitcoin in this current cycle, entering that blast off phase into a super cycle? It's possible. You have to be open to the possibility. This is how Satoshi described that. He says, as the number of users grow, the value per coin increases. It has the potential for a positive feedback loop. As users increase, the value goes up, which could attract more users to take advantage of the increase in value. We're all seeing that happen, of course. Now, I think the best thing to say over here, here's one that I liked. This was meant that the governments were actively devaluing their currency. This is what we're seeing right now. We are seeing right now a race in fiat. Raoul Pal does a good job in describing this, right? We're seeing that race because everyone got caught up. And a question that's been on my mind for years. What were they going to do? Were they going to take this down deflationary or inflationary, right? It's clear to me they've decided on the inflationary route. It's clear to me, right? You're seeing that increase of all the central banks' balance sheet. You're seeing that constant devaluation of the purchasing power of fiat, right? And look, people got caught up in this like game, like QE's deflationary, QE's inflationary. If you don't see the inflation around you, you really, again, 2 + 2 is 4. So anyway, look, he says most people don't think about getting earthquake insurance until it's too late. The insurance companies are flooded with requests. What he's saying over here is that Bitcoin could protect you from this devaluation that we're seeing against all fiat currencies. And more and more people are really waking up to realize this is truly the case. There's a lot of nuggets over here. I thought I liked something else. There it is. Right now, Bitcoin's Gold 2.0 narrative is the only narrative that is driving the crypto space forward, right? In 2017, it was what's going to be the next Bitcoin, right? And now it's, no, it's only Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the only one who's competing as money. Bitcoin right now is competing versus gold. It's a better form of gold 2.0. And everyone is on board and understands that narrative, right? It's the singular focal point that will continue to accrue attention and purchasing demand in this current cycle. Why I still am a firm believer in speculation, human behavior, and alt season being massive, right? For me, as you all know, I've made this Bitcoin only and all about Bitcoin because that's the trade that matters. Everyone now is, I believe, able to see that. There are very few naysayers out there who still are fighting against the case for Bitcoin. Could all of this lead to this super cycle? I do believe that eventually we will see some type of Dan, by the way, talks about probably, look, it's not a question of whether or not we're going to see Bitcoin going from 20,000 to 100,000, right? Could Bitcoin go from $20,000 to 1 million and then only have similar cycles afterwards? It's a possibility. You would be silly in doing yourself a complete disservice not to read this and consider it and to have it with you. Nevertheless, I believe personally that we are going to see nothing more than a normal cycle play out over here. The question will be, and we'll talk about it later, whether or not the drawdown is less than, and I've said to you very often this past year, I put it at about 80%. That's a rough sketch. That's a rough number. By saying 80%, I'm saying, yeah, it'll probably be a little less than 85%. We saw 85% and 84%. It'll probably be a little bit less. You have others saying it'll become like a commodity bear market. It'll be like 50, 60%. I don't know, maybe. But what I do know is because of what happens over here, that it'll be 15 months to the next halving that cycle low is being put in. And that's by then I want to make sure that I'm fully invested into Bitcoin, get everyone else making sure they're dollar cost averaging, picking up, increasing their position at that point in time. So that's what I need to focus on. I don't need to focus on how big the drawdown will be. Whether or not we're entering a super cycle, I'll keep a small position. What I believe those odds could be in case that happens. But what I believe is going to happen is that we're going to enter and continue to have this 4-year cycle. That is the key to the 4-year halving cycle is the halving event. It causes the bull market phase and the bear market phase, right? To think that we're going to see lengthening cycles would mean that all of a sudden the halving itself would not be that catalyst that causes that bull market phase. Because if you're thinking, anyway, I don't even want to give any credence to the lengthening cycle because it's not true. And you all know how important it is to make sure that I don't lead people the wrong way. So, a little bit different today, but a lot of fun. Definitely enjoy these thought experiments. Love the fact that at this moment we have the opportunity to discuss these things as we are over here in the holidays. And all the same, really looking forward to getting back with you all on January 4th, beginning our normal live streams in the morning, Monday through Friday. So everyone, have a happy new year. Looking forward to 2021. 2021 is absolutely going to be extraordinary, I believe, for this whole community. And I'm really looking forward to sharing in that, to just working hard every day together and making sure that we're able to keep on the right side of the market. Happy New Year, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.